Life is a constant flow. Nothing ever stays the same. Neither the seasons, nor the wind, nor the people we meet along the path. Yet, as human beings, we often resist this truth. We cling, we hold on to relationships, to identities, to possessions, to memories, hoping they will give us security and certainty. But the universe has a different wisdom. It teaches us that clinging leads to suffering. And so, at moments we least expect, the universe steps in. It removes, it rearranges, it shakes the very ground beneath us, so that we are reminded of something deeper. Nothing belongs to us forever. When you lose a person you love, when a plan collapses, when a door closes, you may feel betrayed by life. But in reality, life is not punishing you. Life is freeing you. What is not meant to stay must leave, so that space can open for what is meant to arrive. Letting go is not a weakness. It is not resignation. It is an act of trust. Trust that life knows more than your limited perspective. Trust that the path continues even when it bends out of your sight. The universe forces you to let go because you would not do it by yourself. You would cling forever. And in that clinging, you would never grow. The storms, the losses, the endings, they are all teachers. They strip you of what is temporary, so you can find what is eternal. Impermanence is the law of life, a truth that touches every breath, every moment, and every experience we encounter. Nothing in this universe remains fixed, and yet the human heart often longs for permanence, for something solid to hold on to. We want relationships to last forever. We want our bodies to remain youthful. We want success to stay at its peak, and we want the seasons of joy to never fade. But the natural rhythm of existence does not work this way. The rising sun must set. The flower that blooms must wither, and the laughter of today may be replaced by tears tomorrow. This constant shifting is not a punishment. It is simply the way life moves. It is change that gives meaning to our days, for without impermanence, there would be no growth, no transformation, no chance to start again. When we resist impermanence, we suffer. We cling to people, fearing their departure. We grasp at achievements, afraid they will slip from our hands. And we replay the past, wishing it could return. But all of this is like trying to hold water in our fists. The tighter we grasp, the faster it escapes. Life asks us not to cling, but to flow. The beauty of impermanence is that it reminds us of the value of each moment. A conversation with a loved one becomes precious because we know it will not last forever. The sweetness of youth is cherished because time carries us forward. Even pain, when seen through the lens of impermanence, loses its sharpness because we know it too will pass. Impermanence is also a great teacher of humility. It shows us that nothing is truly ours to own, not even our own bodies. We are simply visitors here, passing through, borrowing time and space for a brief while. This realization can free us from the chains of fear and attachment. Instead of mourning what cannot stay, we can learn to bow to the rhythm of change. It is in accepting this truth that we find peace. When we no longer demand that life be permanent, we discover the courage to live fully, to embrace joy when it comes, and to release sorrow when it departs. Impermanence is not a curse, but a hidden blessing, a reminder that every ending carries within it the seed of something new. It is the gentle whisper of the universe telling us nothing lasts forever, and that is precisely why everything matters. Clinging causes suffering because it ties us to illusions that can never remain. We hold on to people, to possessions, to identities, and to moments in time, believing that by gripping them tightly we can make them stay. Yet life is fluid. It cannot be frozen in place. When we cling, we fight against the natural current of existence, and in that struggle we create our own pain. The tighter the grasp, the sharper the ache when the inevitable moment of release comes. A relationship may end, a loved one may leave, success may fade, or health may decline, and if our sense of self and happiness depends entirely on these things, their loss feels unbearable. But the truth is, the suffering does not come from the change itself. It comes from our refusal to let go. To cling is to confuse attachment with love, possession with belonging, control with security. We imagine that holding someone close means we will never lose them, yet the very act of clinging suffocates both ourselves and the other. True connection requires space, but clinging seeks to fill every gap with fear of loss. Similarly, we clutch to our achievements and possessions as though they could protect us from the uncertainty of life. We polish them, defend them, and build our identity upon them, forgetting that all of it is temporary. The suffering arises when the universe inevitably reminds us that nothing external can remain forever in our hands. Clinging also limits growth. When we clutch at the past, we prevent ourselves from stepping into the present. When we hold on to a certain identity, we deny ourselves the chance to evolve into something new. When we cling to comfort, we close the door on opportunities that require risk. In this way, clinging is not only painful, it is also restrictive. It narrows our vision and binds us to what has already been instead of what could be. The freedom we seek does not come from gripping tighter, but from loosening our hold. When we learn to experience fully without demanding permanence, we discover a deeper peace. We can love without owning, succeed without fear of falling, and live without the shadow of constant anxiety. Suffering is born from clinging, but release brings us into harmony with the flow of life. It is in opening our hands rather than closing them that we finally learn what it means to live lightly and to breathe without fear. Loss creates space because every ending carves out an emptiness that invites something new to enter. When a relationship ends, when a dream collapses, or when circumstances shift beyond our control, it often feels like a tearing away, as if life has stolen something essential from us. Yet within that hollow, beneath the ache of absence, lies an opening. Just as a tree must shed its leaves to make room for new growth, loss clears the ground of what no longer serves us, creating the conditions for transformation. What feels like destruction in the moment is often preparation for renewal. The human heart resists this truth. We mourn not only what is gone, but also the version of ourselves that existed alongside it. We cling to familiarity because it gives us a sense of identity and safety. But loss interrupts this pattern, forcing us into unknown territory where our usual comforts no longer exist. Though painful, this disruption is also a gift. It breaks the illusions we have built and demands that we look inward, beyond attachments, to discover who we are without them. The empty space that loss leaves behind is not a void to fear, but a fertile ground in which new possibilities can take root. Space is necessary for growth. A vessel already full cannot receive more water, just as a life crowded with attachments has no room for fresh experiences. Loss empties us, sometimes abruptly, sometimes gently, but always with purpose. It strips us of what we thought we needed, revealing that our true strength does not come from what we hold, but from what we can release. In the silence after loss, we begin to see more clearly, to feel more deeply, and to open ourselves to paths we could not have imagined while clinging to the old. What once seemed unbearable becomes, in hindsight, a turning point. The friend who leaves may create space for deeper connections. The job that ends may open the way to a calling long ignored. Even the grief of losing someone dear can deepen our capacity for compassion, reminding us that love's essence is not bound by time or form. Loss creates space not to punish us, but to stretch us, to remind us that life is vast and that we are capable of holding more than we ever believed. Within every emptiness is the silent promise of becoming, waiting for us to step into it with courage. Letting go is trust because it asks us to release the illusion of control and step into the unknown with faith that life carries its own wisdom. To let go is not to abandon effort or to stop caring, but to surrender the desperate need to dictate how things should unfold. It is the quiet recognition that we cannot grasp the flow of existence in our hands, that we cannot force people to stay, nor can we bend time to our will. Trust begins when we allow the current of life to move us without constant resistance, believing that even if we do not understand the direction, it is leading us where we are meant to go. This trust requires courage. The human mind craves certainty and safety, but life is a shifting landscape. When we cling, we seek to anchor ourselves to the familiar, even if it no longer nourishes us. To let go means releasing those anchors and stepping into waters that may seem deep and uncertain. It is natural to feel fear, but within that fear lies the seed of transformation. Trust says, I may not see the shore yet, but I will not drown. I may not know the outcome, but I believe the unfolding has meaning. Letting go is trust in the wisdom of timing. What leaves us is not meant to remain, and what comes is arriving at its appointed hour. We do not need to chase or beg for what is ours. Life delivers it when we are ready. Trusting in this rhythm allows us to breathe easier, to soften the grip of anxiety, and to walk with an openness that welcomes both arrivals and departures. At its core, Letting go is trust in ourselves as well. It is believing that no matter what is taken away, we have the strength to endure, to adapt, and to begin again. It is faith that we are larger than any single loss, that within us is a resilience deeper than we imagine. When we let go, we do not fall into emptiness, we fall into the arms of life itself. Trust is the bridge that carries us across uncertainty, turning endings into beginnings and fear into freedom. Letting go is not weakness, but the highest form of strength, for it declares that we believe in life more than we fear its changes. Pain is a teacher because it carries lessons that comfort alone could never reveal. It arrives uninvited, disrupting our sense of control, shaking the walls we thought were solid, and stripping away illusions we cling to. At first, it feels cruel, as though life is punishing us. Yet within the ache lies wisdom that cannot be found in ease. Pain exposes the places where we are attached, where we resist change, where we have mistaken temporary things for permanent anchors. It teaches us to see more clearly, to feel more deeply, and to grow in ways we might otherwise avoid. In the quiet moments of struggle, pain becomes a mirror. It reflects back the truth about ourselves, our fears, our insecurities, our hidden strengths. When we are hurt by loss, betrayal, or failure, the discomfort urges us to look within, to ask questions we would never ask. When life is smooth, who am I without what I have lost? What matters when everything else falls away? What strength have I discovered that I did not know was mine? These questions may sting, but they guide us to deeper understanding. Pain also sharpens our capacity for compassion. When we have suffered, we recognize the suffering of others more easily. We become gentler, more patient, more willing to stand beside another in their struggle, because we know what it feels like. A heart that has never been broken can remain hard, but a heart that has felt pain learns to soften. It learns that empathy is not pity, but a shared recognition of the fragility and beauty of being human. Beyond teaching humility and compassion, pain reveals resilience. In the moment, it may feel unbearable, as if the weight will crush us. Yet with time, we realize that we have endured, that the wound has healed, and that we are still here, stronger, wiser, and more awake than before. This resilience becomes a quiet confidence, a reminder that even if pain returns, we have the ability to rise again. Pain does not come to destroy us, it comes to awaken us. It strips away what is false, deepens what is real, and pushes us toward growth we would never choose willingly. Though harsh in its methods, pain teaches the language of strength, compassion, and surrender. And once its lesson is absorbed, the very wound that once hurt becomes the scar that reminds us of how far we have come. Every ending hides a beginning, because life is never still, never final, always turning from one form into another. What we call an ending is only a shift, a doorway disguised as loss. When something we cherish comes to a close, a relationship, a season of life, a dream we nurtured, it feels final, as though a chapter has been ripped from the book. Yet, if we look closer, beneath the sorrow and the silence, we can sense the quiet hum of something new stirring. The same way dusk gives way to dawn, endings prepare the ground for beginnings that cannot yet be seen. In the moment of farewell, the pain of absence often blinds us. We see only what has slipped away, not what is waiting to enter. But life has a rhythm far greater than our limited vision. It removes, it rearranges, it closes doors not to trap us, but to guide us toward paths we might never walk otherwise. The ending of one story is the invitation to another, though its pages are still blank. This is why patience is required. To trust that the void will not remain empty, that the silence after the storm is making way for renewal. Every ending demands something from us. It asks us to release what we once held tightly, to surrender the comfort of the known, and to step into uncertainty. This surrender is not weakness, but the seed of transformation. Without endings, there would be no change, no growth, no rebirth. Just as the seed must break open to become a tree, and the caterpillar must dissolve to emerge as a butterfly, we too must pass through endings to reach new forms of ourselves. The beauty of beginnings is that they often arrive quietly, disguised within endings we once resisted. The friendship that ended may teach us self-reliance, opening the door for deeper connections. The career that collapsed may awaken a long-buried passion. Even grief, heavy as it feels, can plant the seeds of compassion and resilience that blossom later in ways we could not have imagined. Every ending holds within it the architecture of what comes next, even if it is hidden from our view. When we begin to see endings not as final walls, but as hidden thresholds, our relationship with change softens. Instead of despair, we find possibility. Instead of resistance, we find curiosity. Life, in its quiet wisdom, reminds us that nothing truly dies without giving birth to something new. Every ending, no matter how heavy, is already whispering the promise of a beginning. So, when life asks you to release, when change arrives uninvited, and when the ground beneath you shifts, remember this: impermanence is the law of life. Clinging only deepens the wound, and loss is not emptiness, but space being cleared for renewal. To let go is to trust the wisdom of the universe, to see pain not as cruelty, but as a teacher, and to recognize that every ending quietly carries the seed of a beginning. You are not being broken. You are being reshaped. You are not being abandoned. You are being guided. Walk gently with life, open your hands, and allow its flow to carry you forward. What you lose will pass, what you learn will remain, and what is meant for you will always find its way.